Hello and welcome to another episode of Between the Studs. We're back with another awesome LEGO Masters recap video. I'm your host Mark, and today we have Angie and Emily joining us to share their thoughts.
Good to see everyone.
We have two LEGO experts here. They both have been working with minifigures and parts for a long time, so we're excited to dive into this latest episode of LEGO Masters. This actually came out on Wednesday.
Yes.
When it was supposed to come out.
The right time to come out, yes.
No baseball, no nothing in the way, so finally back to schedule, so that's good.
Yes.
And this week's episode is all about camp. I think it was Camp Click-a-Brick was the theme.
Yes.
So build a summer camp, which would have been a lot more thematically correct if it aired in the summer.
Right.
Not in
you have to kind of think about it.
middle of fall or late fall.
Yeah.
So you got to think about this in the context of airing during the summer, which was planned to do. But yeah. So, but overall, I actually rather enjoyed this episode. I thought there was quite a bit of shenanigans from Will, and the judges were having a good time with all sorts of things. So, what were you guys' thoughts of the episode overall? Let's start with you, Angie.
Well, I like the shenanigans. I did like that. I wish they'd still show more of the build. They spent a lot of extra time doing the shenanigans and not letting us actually see the build for itself.
During the build process, yeah.
Correct, the process of it. Because we would go from, them not being able to figure out what they wanted to a half done, and then we got a minute left. You know?
Yeah,
You
didn't really see the design process as much.
Yeah. And with there being fewer contestants, I felt like they had the time to do it if they'd chosen to. But that was an editing choice, which is fine.
It was still fun.
But I thought it was a great episode. Yeah. It's very relatable. If you haven't been to a camp, you at least know what they're like. And I was afraid some would go a different direction, which we'll talk about later. But, I thought it was a great episode.
What about you, Emily? How did you like the episode?
Well, I thought it was the funniest episode so far. We were laughing more with this episode than we have with any other episode. So, yeah, I agree. The shenanigans were great. But overall, I really enjoyed the episode. I thought that there were some couples that actually did a lot better than I thought they were going to do, and then other ones there were some surprising surprising failures.
Yeah. And then I thought it was funny how a lot of the campers seemed to be in danger. They were on it.
I loved that. It seemed like a child endangerment seemed to be the theme of the week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just losing count over how many kids were probably dying. But maybe that was the point. It's supposed to be kind of over the top fantasy.
Right. You take it to the other extreme where camp's supposed to be a safe place to go. This was not the safe side. So that's fine. That's fine.
Exactly.
That's great. We go hard.
So fun overall, and then some surprises too. And we'll talk about some of the dramatic things that were introduced in the judging too, with the golden brick and other things.
I did like the golden brick twist. I mean, I thought that was probably one of the more genuinely surprising twists that they've done. I definitely didn't expect that.
Exactly. Yeah, there was, and I think that some of the teams that we thought were going to go really get wiped out ended up doing well. But let's talk about the builds now that we're starting to get towards that part of the conversation. The first one I have on the list, this is not in any particular order, is Nick and Stacy with their cloud camp.
Yeah.
So it was a very colorful build, had a lot of movement. It was very up in the air, which was interesting. Everyone else was kind of planted on the ground. Theirs was up in the air.
It was more, Yeah. Sorry if y'all don't mind.
No, go for it.
I thought that they would not do well because not having the classic camp stuff, but then at the same time, because they said it was going to be the motorized stuff, that because they did such a good job with that, and even Judge Jamie said that's pretty difficult to do two different spins in one area. I thought they would get some kudos for that, but sadly they were in the bottom two, which means the theme counted more than the power functions, obviously.
Yeah. They were judging story and aesthetics more, I think. So.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting because they emphasized the power functions so much, and they probably had the best power functions.
So.
Very nice power
of
functions.
Any build. So I did find that interesting as well, even though I agree with the judges as far as like thematically it was
hard to
I couldn't really tell what their camp was supposed to be or that it was even a summer camp.
I mean, I saw that they tried to put the magnifying glass and maybe a tent here or there, but there weren't activities like the others had, I guess. And they could have done that on the clouds themselves in different cloud areas, I feel like. But again, a cloud camp is kind of a weird.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a foggy idea, cloud pun. Anyways,
and again, if we're gonna say that the power functions are important, I feel like that should count a little more than theme.
Yeah.
Because the other one team that theirs didn't work very well at first and ended up going backwards, I feel like they should have maybe been in the bottom, but
they could have, yeah, for
that
sure.
That means they were going for theme more, which is.
Yep. One last thought on Nick and Stacy's build was there was was it the Tooth Fairy?
Yes.
And she was,
oh my gosh, yes! How can we forget about the Tooth Fairy?
She was skin tone and seemed to have no clothes on.
No clothes on.
Yes.
And it was
yes, we all were like, wait, what?
like, you can't have a tan outfit on a tan skin character, and it's not going to look right.
It was interesting. We all were like, wait, what? Why?
Did you forget to put the outfit on the Tooth
Yes.
Fairy? What happened?
Yeah. That was
what
funny.
message is this sending to children?
To children. So yes, exactly.
So these are problematic camp situations for
all
many
the camps
kids.
are. That one's less dangerous. I guess Cloud Camp is soft and cozy, but yeah, there's a little bit adult themes in there.
Yeah, not good. Anyway,
yes, we digress.
So hit and miss on Nick and Stacy's build, we think.
Yeah.
So yeah, but moving on, we had Liam and Emily with Dragon Camp. So this one seemed like a really strong idea. What did you think about this build, Emily?
Well, thematically, it was my favorite just because I love dragons.
Yes.
I was disappointed for them that their dragons ended up flying backwards.
Yes.
Because it seemed to work pretty well when they first were running it.
Yeah, they tested it and it worked great. And
yeah.
then when they actually got onto the presentation, it went backwards.
Yeah, so that was really odd. I'm not familiar with power functions well enough to know how exactly that happened. Like I've seen, one where it just doesn't work at all, which it happened at first.
Right.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden it going backwards. That was odd. I liked the heads also went up and down, so that was an interesting.
That it went around.
I have no idea how they did that, but it did seem pretty cool. When it did, you could kind of see it. So.
Yes, that was interesting. So I thought they definitely made like a really good effort, and I think if it hadn't been for that, then they could have gotten a lot. Like they probably would have done better. Maybe even been in the top 2. I don't know.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, I think that the unfortunate mistake of all the problems with the power functions ended up costing them a lot, because I think that otherwise they were definitely in the conversation for the top 2, like you were saying. So,
though Amy did mention that they needed maybe like a few more camp elements, I think, which seemed to be a comment for a lot of things.
Yeah.
I think the engineering might have slowed them up a little in their build process.
Yeah.
What do you think, Angie? You agree with that?
Yeah, I also feel like at least with that one, there was stuff going on the ground, but it was like a really flat, to me, like a 2D feel. It wasn't built up with textures, and obviously it's hard to build that much on that big of a platform.
It is, yeah.
To really fill it up to look good.
That was a big square of green to fill up.
Square.
So,
yeah. And I remember last year's episode when I did testing for that house, the one when y'all did the Dracula or Monster House or whatever. I did a test for that, and it was huge, and it's a lot because you're building the house and then you got to add all this texture around it. So I get that it's a lot, even for 11 hours of work. But I did love all the dragons. I love the ideas, the ones that were roasting the marshmallows, and
the white one that was wrapped around
the tower. That was a great focal point.
Yeah, those are some great dragons, and I still think that was one of the best ideas. It's just unfortunate a few things kind of didn't quite work exactly as they planned at the end. But I mean, overall, I think they were pretty safe. They just missed an opportunity to win something.
Correct. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree.
Well, good job, Liam and Emily. But we'll move on. There's the Steven and Steven, the firefighters. One of my favorite teams. But one of the problems with Steven and Steven is they kind of are like, just their idea doesn't quite land the way they think they expected it to.
Yeah.
And I think this might have happened here.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a good idea. I thought it was a great idea. I thought it was hilarious that they changed it to superheroes one word, so that we got the sit farm.
Sit camp, not
sit camp.
The other word camp, yeah.
Which they bleeped him out. I thought it was hilarious how Will reacted to that. They made he's like, so I'm going to the bleep camp. I'm like, it was so funny. That was classic.
That was the source of all most of the humor of the episode. So it was
really good. And I liked how they had all of the different movements of all the superheroes doing stuff. Like you could see all the different storylines, but you knew this was a camp for them to learn how to do it because they weren't doing well.
Yeah, it was very clear that it was a camp, and there was a lot of great motion.
Yeah,
correct.
I agree with that. There was a lot of interesting motions. Like there was different ones. It wasn't like just a bunch of the same kind of motion.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was great.
I liked that. theme was cool, and it was
pretty well built.
It was
too.
very clever.
Yeah.
That's actually a summer camp that I would have gone to.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Superhero camp sounds quite fun. Like, sign me up, that's great.
So you two are superhero and dragon camps, I can tell.
They're fun. Yeah, those are good ideas. I think some of the ideas we'll get to later might be a little bit odd. So we'll get there. Anyway, but
and at least their power functions worked as they were supposed to. So
all of them
that's
did.
good.
That was great.
I think.
Yeah.
I don't know how many they had, but it looked like several, 4 to 5 even. So that was.
Yeah, they went well beyond just the one big spinning one and did like multiple small ones, which I think is cool. So
I thought that was great.
So I think like aesthetically, like I think maybe why they weren't in the top 2, like it wasn't maybe like aesthetically as
unified.
Like, yeah,
the houses were a little
appealing,
square.
As the top 2 were.
I agree.
Yeah. So a few problems to keep it from the top, kind of like Liam and Emily. Things just didn't quite mesh together perfectly, but they were definitely. I thought they were perfectly safe. And they got through another tough challenge pretty comfortably, I think. So.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah. So good for Steven and Steven.
Yes.
Moving on, we have Dave and Emily, which is... They had a great time last time with the pirate ship. Now they have another very unusual build. They have the weirdest ideas.
They do, but they're so cute. Here's the thing, though. When they said Camp Ooze, I went, oh, that could be a problem because you really have to give it that look of ooze, and that's not as easy to do with you're not good at sculpting.
Square bricks for a slimy appearance is hard.
It's hard. That's a hard thing to do. They set themselves up. But I think in the end, other than the building that they commented that being really squared off, I thought they accomplished that with the chains.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For the figures and
speaking of, I can't get past their idea to put more chains on the children.
Yeah.
The way they phrased it seemed very problematic. Again, it's like there's not enough ooze in the children. We need to chain them up.
Chains all over them. I get the idea.
It went from Nickelodeon funny to problematic.
We gotta call the government.
Heart Lake City drama. Oh no.
Yeah, no, I thought it was a great idea though.
But it was a cute idea.
Yeah.
I thought it was original. Like I wouldn't have thought of that.
It just reminded me of what would have been in the 80s or 90s Nickelodeon camp.
Oh yeah.
Everybody got slimed.
Yes.
For sure.
That's what it made me
all
think
that like whipped cream pies everywhere. Just like really fun, messy food fight type situation.
Yeah.
One takeaway for me with Dave and Emily is they really do have some fun building details, and I think that their trees were a real standout for me because they had these blue and white trees.
I remember you talking about
that. The trees were cool.
They were very pretty.
They were very nice. What part did they use on those? Could you tell?
It was a variety of pieces, small blue pieces and white bricks with studs on the side to get a bunch of angles. Anyway.
It was beautiful.
So Dave and Emily, they have really crazy ideas. Sometimes they land really well, and sometimes they might miss the mark. This one just a little bit... Some issues that kept it from that top position, I think, but still, good job, perfectly safe.
It was a solid build.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
It's nice to see a lot of these teams still do pretty well, even with an unusual idea, a tough challenge, and 11 hours is not the shortest amount of time, but it's still not
It's a
enough.
lot to fill that area.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a lot.
But Camp Ooze, oh my goodness, I don't know if I'd sign up for that one.
No, probably not.
Yeah, that's an interesting metric to compare it by. Is like, would I go to this summer camp and have a great time, or would I go to this summer camp and be like freaking out and having a bad time?
So far, I'm not going to any of the future camps. I'm gonna go. There's another. I'll tell you what I'm gonna go to.
Okay. So moving on, we have Austin and Justin with their. I think it was Go with the Flow camp or the Lava camp.
Yeah.
That's the one I'll go to.
Super weird idea. I would never think of volcano geology maybe, but just lava is the focus. That's very unusual.
I loved it. I would go to that camp. For some reason, I would. I don't like to be hot, so maybe I shouldn't, but...
You'd be baking.
Yeah, I would. Talk about taking off your coat. No, I just thought it was a very unique way to do it, and I thought they accomplished the look of the... tug of war was funny, the surfing, the lava, all those things that you would do at a camp.
Their motion was good, too.
The motion was good. Yeah. I liked it.
What'd you think?
Well, I thought it turned out a lot better than I thought it was going to. Like, when they were talking about their theme, I was just like, I'm not sure about that.
I was worried about them.
I was genuinely surprised and impressed that they managed to pull it off as well as they did. I mean, to the point that they were in the top 2.
Yes.
I thought I liked the cool, the lava, the wave motion in the lava, and the tug of war, that was cute. Even though I never want
Endangering
to play
kids.
Yeah, exactly. I never want to play tug of war over lava, but it was still an interesting idea.
I just think it's great.
Yep, child endangerment.
Yes, completely.
But to your point, Emily, I think I definitely agree. They definitely, it looked rough at first, and I think the judges
scared.
were even kind of like, "What are you doing?"
Right.
And then they ended up just sticking with it. They weren't afraid, and it ended up being a really good build, and they ended up getting in the top 2. I think this is their second time that they top 3 or top 2. So good for Austin and Justin.
I have a hard time with them believing that they can build from the first episode with the doctor bag. That one was just like...
That was a low point for them.
So I still envision that when they're building, but no, they've proven that they can build. It's just you have a hard time when you come out of the gate like that, you know?
They sometimes their ideas don't quite land. Like some of the other teams had that problem this episode, but this episode their idea did much better than expected, and it all came together very nicely.
Absolutely,
so.
absolutely.
And I mean the visually it looked really cool. Just the colors, like I always loved the trans orange and red, the fire colors.
Yep.
Like it's very visually
it's
like stunning. Yeah, like it stands out.
Yeah, the bold yellow and orange, and the eruption at the top with the transparent pieces.
Cool,
really good work. So,
It gives it a feeling of action. Something's happening.
Yep, a story, and the motions were great. Can't say enough good stuff about Austin and Justin.
Yes.
But here's a big surprise for me. Was Greg and Brennan with the Flying Whales camp.
It was.
What were they thinking with that theme?
I'm telling you, they were going home. They were going home.
There were some not bad ideas. There were some very unusual ideas. But this one was like, what are you thinking, guys? I know you're tired, but really, even pigs flying would have been much more logical.
That's what Daniel said. That's what Daniel said last night. He's like, even just doing pigs, but I get that I understand what they were trying to do, and it was cutesy in some way, but it was not given out in the build itself. It was very scary sad.
I've never even heard of the concept of flying whales before. So it's like, unless it's like a very far fantasy.
He said that they were jealous of the flying fish and they wanted to...
They just didn't... The story didn't come together in any kind of cohesive or interesting way.
Yeah.
Which is sad because their engineering was very good. With the rising and spinning, that's more complex. So.
Again, that was like... This shows it's more theme than it is... the power function.
And also I feel like they didn't really listen to the judges. I really could see that. I think they were like so like set on their build that they were just didn't pivot when the judges were telling them that it looked more like an amusement park than it did a summer camp.
I think they waited too long to pivot at that little part, but it still looked like an amusement park in many ways.
It did. Like, I mean, because like they even said like, oh, we need to take out the roller coaster. I guess like you could tell that they didn't want to do it because that was like the big focal point. But then they only ended up taking out part of it, so you could still see that roller coaster element, and even the spinning tower, which was impressive in motion, is still more amusement park.
It is. You're right. It's not so much a camp anymore because it's this big ride, you know. So
they could have, if they wanted to incorporate the spinning aspect for the whales. In my opinion, they could have just made it a short thing where the whales can practice flying. You know, a little lower. That takes away the big focal point and amusement park idea out of it. And then if they wanted them to be able to go down a hill, maybe they bring it down lower and it just be I don't know.
They could have. There was a couple of design choices. I think they got hyper focused, maybe a little tunnel vision with their build. In only 11 hours, you don't have a lot of time to engineer a huge moving contraption. So I think they just made a couple mistakes, maybe a little bit overconfidence, given they won the last 2 challenges.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
Yeah. I agree with that. I just didn't really want to say anything negative about their character. But I do just feel like specifically in this challenge, maybe that they had a hard time letting go.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Greg and Brennan are amazing builders, and I think they just maybe bit off a little more than they could chew on this one. So it maybe just went the wrong direction when they could have chosen a different option. So I mean, like I think that the fact that they did not get eliminated, we'll talk about that in a second. I think that they'll bounce right back, especially with
because I really like them. I mean they were in the top 2. They actually they win the last 2 challenges before that. So and like I mean last week without a doubt their pirate ship was my favorite. So so I was surprised with what happened this week.
They were a rare misstep for Greg and Brennan, but they'll bounce back. I feel we'll see. So and I think the last build we have to talk about, as long as I haven't missed any, was Dom and Ethan with the monster camp. So
there was. Sorry.
Go for it.
No, I was just gonna say that was another surprise for me as well for the opposite reason. Like, I mean, Dom and Ethan have
struggled.
They have. But at the same time, I feel like even though I'm still not a fan of like how they just dropped them into the competition in the middle of it, I think they have proven they can build.
Yeah.
So I have to give them credit for that. This week I was worried for them just because they couldn't come up with an idea. I mean, maybe they over exaggerated like how long it actually took for them to come up with it. But you could tell like they just could not figure out a story. So the fact that once they finally decided on their idea, that they made it work as well as they did was really impressive, because their camp was the most like a summer camp. So I think so they deserved the win, I think.
Their build was completely full. Right. The idea looked cohesive.
It did.
It had these cool entrances, and it wasn't an amusement park.
Yeah. Right.
So really well done in the end, and very surprising given there was at least some trouble in the start. We don't know really how much, because Lego Masters will exaggerate or edit it to look a little bit worse than it might be, perhaps. So it could have just been an hour. Could have been they were actually struggling for 3 hours, and they only had 9 or 10 hours left. Whatever. So it's very exciting to see them turn it around and then end up doing so well. So especially given that they have had a few episodes where they're in the bottom, or maybe worried about being in the bottom. So what do you think about that, Angie?
Yeah, I feel like I kind of felt like at the beginning that they were either going to be in the top for sure or win, only because they spent so much time emphasizing the fact that they couldn't figure out what they were going to do. And a lot of television is motivated towards the underdog. Can they do it? And poor them. They wasted 2 hours.
Yep.
And but they pulled it off in the end. And what I was concerned about the whole time, though, was that this is one of those where I feel like they started slow, and then they start working, but there's hardly anything on the board, and then it's like 1 minute to go. So you didn't really get to see the evolution of how they had built it up, because when I saw them taking it in, I was like, well, that looks a lot more detailed than it did the last time we saw it.
Yeah.
So I was thankful for that. I thought it was a great idea. And like she said, even like the drink stand looked like a monster's mouth, and everything went with the theme, and it had that texture on it wasn't just a flat green surface.
They filled in every surface.
Lots
it
of
all
texture
had
with that dark tan and all. So yeah, I thought they did a great job.
Yeah. So amazing turn on for them. I think it's totally possible, like you both have said, that the editors were kind of focusing all the footage of them on the very first few hours of their design process, and they didn't even show any of their building. Yeah, so because I don't know how they made that monster. They didn't talk about that at all.
They didn't talk about it at all. It was like, wait, there's a minute left. They don't hardly have anything on their board.
Exactly.
So it's fine. That's how.
But so that was a big surprise. But I think it wasn't the biggest surprise happening this episode, because you had the golden brick and the 90,000 pieces.
That's crazy.
And if you saw the episode, it was basically you could choose one of the boxes. You don't know what it is, and whoever you choose gets the other box. And they're both good things, but you got to be careful how that goes.
Very strategic.
Yeah. So I think that, I don't know if Dominique and Ethan expected to get the bricks. I think they were trying to get the golden brick.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then they said, well, here's the beauty of it. If it doesn't matter, we'll call those guys out. We know they're going home. And if they get the brick, it doesn't go into play for anyone anyway. Yeah. And we get the 90,000 bricks. You know?
Which was a good strategy.
It was a good strategy.
It ended up backfiring
on
them.
There was no elimination.
That is pretty funny. So, I remember in our season we had to use the golden brick on episode 10, and we're like, well, we used the golden brick. I wonder who's going to go home. And no one went home. And we're just like, okay.
Yeah.
So a little bit of that feeling.
It made it sound like that you had to give it up. It wasn't that you necessarily wanted to. You had to, but they made it sound like, well, we're really worried. Let's give it.
and it's also, in this one, they had to give that prize to somebody else. And they figured, well, Brennan and Greg would be a good candidate for strategy.
It's a great strategy.
So,
It's a great strategy.
So did you guys enjoy the fact that they implemented this? I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was actually... as I said earlier, genuinely surprising. So
it was a good twist.
It was.
I thought it was great. The 90,000 bricks. I don't really understand I guess I do get how much that is and how much. I don't think the average person's going to understand 90,000 bricks.
I agree.
Or why the Lego person would be so happy to get
that. That's a lot. It's like usually as big as a large collection of pieces or more than most people will have.
Yeah.
So it's a huge amount of volume. Of course, Dominique and Ethan are going to have to split it probably now.
Yeah, but
it's still, that's 45,000 pieces each. That's a lot. Think about it, how many UCS sets it takes to get up to that amount of pieces. So
yeah, weren't y'all talking about how that value of that could be as
it's not that far off
from the prize you
the
get
grand
for the
prize.
grand.
Yeah, so that's a great thing to win. So
Yeah.
But so talking about the judging, now that we talked about the surprise, were you guys pretty happy with both Dom and Ethan, and who else was in the top 2 with them? It was
Greg and Austin and Justin.
It was Austin and Justin.
Austin Justin with Lava Camp. Were you guys happy with the 2 picks for top 2 and the eventual winners of the Monster Camp? Let's start with Emily. So.
Yeah, I think that that they really deserved the top 2 spots because, as we said, Dom and Ethan with their Monster Camp, that they definitely met the challenge the best of all of them. I mean, it was a summer camp. Like the other ones, I liked a lot of the other ones, but I don't think with any of the other ones I really felt like, oh, that's definitely a summer camp. Now, a few of them, like the Dragon and Superhero ones, I would have gone to, but
didn't flesh out as much.
No.
So
I agree that they probably deserved the win, and I think with Austin and Justin in the Lava Camp, that their motions were great. Their story actually came together cohesively, and it was very visually it was really cool looking.
Yeah.
So no, I think they earned that spot.
You agree with that assessment, Angie?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I agreed with all the decisions, the best and the worst. I agreed with all of it.
Exactly the best.
Yeah, I think it was pretty straightforward to judge for the Brickmasters this time. The one thing I would say, I think that Liam and Emily totally could have been in the top 2 if that thing worked flawlessly.
Yeah.
It could have seen them switch out with somebody else. I think they might have even won if it was everything worked perfectly. I think it's just that it ended up knocking them back. But any other final thoughts of the episode while we're closing out?
I'm just excited for future episodes. I think it's nice to know that we're back on schedule and we won't have to worry about interruptions or coming on at midnight.
Exactly.
I
wonder if...
I'm excited about that.
I'm excited to see if Dom and Ethan's choice of giving the golden the golden brick thing, if that comes back to bite them.
Yep,
because now one of the strongest teams has it.
Yeah, exactly.
True.
Instead
of
going
if they don't
home,
have a misstep like this week again.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they could do a lot of damage with that golden brick.
Exactly. They're now safe in at least one episode as long as they use it. So they could be going all the way at this point.
Yeah, because even if they have a misstep, now they have the golden brick to save them from that, and I think they're good enough.
They may not need it.
Well, they may not need it, and also I don't think they would have that many more missteps. So I think I think if they had to use it once, they'd be fine probably the rest of the time.
Yeah.
They got their hiccup out of the way. You and Steven had a hiccup. Episode 3.
Yeah, we had a few.
Like, Beow. And then this is their hiccup. So I feel like they're going to be fine to the end, really.
Yeah.
They're so good.
We'll see. Yeah, there's a couple teams that are showing real consistency. I think it's really boiling down now. So looking forward to future episodes here. And we'll be sure to cover them here at Atlanta Brick Code TV as well.
Absolutely.
But thank you both for joining me and sharing your thoughts. It's been great.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for watching the video with us. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll do a whole bunch more videos soon. Thanks. Take care.
Bye.